My name is Elaine Porter. I'm 44 years old. And I didn't know the moment my relationship with my daughter truly ended would be measured in views, likes, and a smug little caption until a coworker sent me a TikTok link during my lunch break. Rating my parents, stepdad 1010, bio mom 110. Some women don't deserve to be mothers. It already had over 30,000 views. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't even close the app. I just sat there, fork hovering over a microwaved container of leftovers, staring at my daughter's face on my phone, smiling confidently into the camera of a life I had paid for, while she dismantled my existence for internet points. I left a thumbs-up comment. That week, I took back her car, liquidated her college fund, and exposed the lie holding her entire lifestyle together. This is the story of how my daughter believed she could humiliate me publicly and still keep me as her safety net. She miscalculated. Badly. I work as a quality control supervisor at a manufacturing plant, overseeing production standards for automotive components. It's not glamorous. I don't wear heels to work. I don't have a filtered online persona. What I do have is 30 years of grit, an engineering degree earned at night, and a salary just shy of $90,000 a year. Money built on overtime, discipline, and showing up even when I was exhausted. Straight out of high school, I worked factory floors. Hot, loud, brutal. While other women my age were figuring out themselves, I was figuring out how to survive, pulling double shifts, studying at night, sleeping 4 hours, if I was lucky. I wasn't building a brand. I was building a future. And for a long time, that future had a small girl in it. When Allison was little, she used to sprint down the hallway when she heard my truck pull in. I'd walk through the door, smelling like metal and machine oil, and she'd launch herself into my arms, yelling, "Mommy's home!" She used to sit on my lap at dinner, ask about my job, beg to come to work with me on weekends. I'd give her oversized safety goggles and let her inspect parts like she was my assistant. Those were the good years. Her father, Mark, and I divorced when Allison was 11. It wasn't peaceful, it wasn't mutual, and it sure as hell wasn't fair. He kept the house. I took on $850 a month in child support, plus her phone, insurance, extracurriculars, everything he suddenly decided was extra. Still, Allison chose me. Every weekend, she packed her little bag and couldn't wait to come over. We built blanket forts, burned pancakes, watched movies way past bedtime. She brought homework to my apartment because she said I explained math better than her dad. But around 14, things shifted. Visits got shorter, phones got louder, excuses piled up, and then her father remarried. Karen. Yes, that Karen. Obsessed with appearances, social media, designer labels she couldn't afford. When she married Brad, it was like she'd won the fantasy lottery. Brad worked in sales, drove a BMW, talked big, acted bigger. From day one, he positioned himself as the fun parent, the cool one, the one who understood her generation. And quietly, methodically, he began undermining me. Little comments. Your mom seems stressed about money. If it were up to me, you'd have everything you want. Real women don't nickel and dime their kids. Allison absorbed it. By 15, she moved in with them full time. She told me at Applebee's, of all places, like our relationship was worth a 2 for $20 menu. I smiled, paid the bill, went home, and cried alone. What she never knew was that while Brad played provider, I was the one funding her entire life. $300 a month into a college fund since birth. 17 years. No breaks, no excuses. Nearly $90,000 waiting for her future. A 2020 Honda CR-V for her 16th birthday. Paid in full. Insurance, phone, clothes, cheerleading, extra cash on top of support. I told myself one day she'd understand. Then the TikTok dropped. And I realized something important. She already understood. She just didn't care. I wish I could tell you the TikTok was the moment Allison became someone I didn't recognize. But that wouldn't be true. The TikTok was just the moment she stopped pretending she respected me. After I saw it, I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was crying. My tears dried up somewhere around the 3rd year of that divorce. I didn't sleep because my mind kept replaying every small moment I had brushed off as teenage attitude and stitching them together like a crime scene. Allison didn't wake up one morning and decide I was a 1 out of 10. She was trained into it. And Brad didn't train her with love. He trained her with performance. With the idea that the parent who looks wealthy is the parent who matters. With the idea that the parent who talks smooth is the parent who's real. With the most dangerous trick of all, making her believe that my boundaries were cruelty, and his empty promises were generosity. Brad came into their lives like a salesman with a smile too polished to trust. He was the kind of man who always smelled like cologne and confidence. Even in gym clothes, he looked like he'd dressed for a camera. And Karen adored him because he made her feel like she was starring in a better life than she could afford. A bigger house, technically a rental. A BMW, technically leased. Fancy dinners, technically paid for with credit cards. But to Allison, it looked like Brad had leveled up her family. And compared to my 2-bedroom apartment and my practical truck, I looked like the boring parent, the one who didn't win after the divorce. Brad used that. At first, it was subtle. He'd show up to cheer competitions, clap too loud, post photos, tag Allison with captions like, "Proud stepdad moment, would do anything for this kid." And Allison ate it up because people commented hearts. Then he'd turn to her when no one was looking and say things like, "Your mom worries too much about money." Or, "If I was your real parent, you wouldn't have to ask permission to live." Or, "Some people don't know how to provide, they just know how to complain." He never said my name. He didn't have to. What made it worse was the timing. Because behind the scenes, Brad's success was starting to rot. He sold luxury pools, commission only. The kind of job that works great when rich people feel rich. But after the economic downturn in 2023, those rich people stopped building backyard water parks. His income dropped, hard. The funny part? I didn't learn that from Karen. I learned it later from public records and the little clues he forgot to hide. The late notices, the temporary stress, the sudden obsession with keeping Allison on his side. Because when men like Brad start losing money, they tighten their grip on control. And Allison was the perfect tool. When Allison was younger, she used to be excited about the small things. Pancakes, a movie night, me showing her how to fix a squeaky cabinet door. But at 14, she started caring about what her friends had. At 15, she started caring about what her friends thought. By 16, it was like she was living for an invisible audience, even when she wasn't filming. And over the past year, there were 3 incidents I should have treated like flashing red lights. I didn't, because I was still trapped in the delusion that sacrificing harder would buy me respect. Incident 1, the restaurant meltdown. 8 months ago, I took Allison to a steakhouse. Not a 5-star place, but nice enough that I knew it would sting the budget. I told myself it was worth it. It was my weekend. I wanted her to feel special. Allison ordered, like she was auditioning for a luxury lifestyle. The most expensive steak, appetizer, dessert, a drink she barely touched, because it looked good in photos. When the food arrived, she took 3 bites, then pushed the plate away. "I'm full." I blinked at her. "You're full." "Allison, that was $45. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought she might pull a muscle. "God, Mom, why do you always do this?" "Do what?" "Make everything about money. Brad would never make me feel guilty for ordering what I want." I stared at her like she'd slapped me. "Take the food to go," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Or pay for it yourself next time." That's when she leaned in, voice low and venomous, like she'd rehearsed it. "Brad says controlling parents use money as a weapon." There it was. Not her words. His. I smiled, tight to professional, the way you smile at someone who's testing your patience. "Tell Brad," I said evenly, "that when he starts paying for your meals, he can have opinions about your leftovers." She huffed, shoved the box into her purse, and didn't speak to me for the rest of dinner. Incident 2, the shopping tantrum. 4 months ago, Allison texted me in a panic. "Mom, I need money for winter formal, like today." I sent Karen $300 for a dress. A week later, Allison posted photos at the dance wearing something that looked like it belonged in a designer boutique window, easily 500 plus. I asked Karen about it. Karen laughed like it was nothing. "Allison found it on sale. She needed more for accessories. Whatever." Whatever. That word. It's Karen's favorite word when she's spending someone else's money. Then the next week, Allison called me crying. "Mom, I have to return the dress. Dad and Karen can't afford for me to keep it." I stayed quiet. Then she whispered the real part. "Brad said if it was up to him, I could keep it. He said you're being controlling." My jaw clenched. "Allison," I said, "if you want designer dresses, you can get a job and buy them like everyone else." She gasped like I'd insulted her entire identity. "Brad said you'd say that. He said you don't understand how people live." "I understand exactly how people live," I said calmly. "They live within their means. Or they drown." She hung up, and I sat there staring at my phone, realizing I wasn't fighting my daughter anymore. I was fighting Brad's script inside her head. Incident 3, the car ultimatum. 6 weeks before the TikTok disaster, Allison called me on a Sunday morning, sobbing. At first, I thought something terrible had happened. Then she said, I can't drive the Honda anymore. My stomach dropped. Why? Is something wrong with it? No, she snapped. It's embarrassing. I didn't speak. She kept going, words pouring out like poison. Madison drives a BMW. Chloe drives a Tesla. Alyssa has a Mercedes. I look like a loser pulling up in a Honda. A Honda I had paid for outright. A Honda that was safe, reliable, and newer than the car I drove. I waited a full 10 seconds before I answered because I needed my voice to stay steady. Allison, I said, if you want a BMW, you can get a job and save for one. Then she dropped the line Brad had loaded into her like a bullet. Brad said he'd co-sign for something better if you weren't so controlling. That's when I realized Brad wasn't trying to help her. He was trying to break me, to position himself as the hero and me as the villain, while I paid for everything. I said quietly, tell Brad when he starts making payments he gets a vote. She screamed, you don't get it! And I said, oh, I get it. You want a luxury car. I want a daughter who remembers who's been feeding her. She didn't like that. 2 weeks later, Karen called me, suggesting I upgrade the car to something more appropriate since Allison was almost 18. And when I asked where that idea came from, Karen hesitated, then admitted it. It was Brad's idea. That was the last conversation before the TikTok. The last calm moment before Allison decided to put me on a scoreboard and tell the world I lost. And the part that haunts me? Not her rating, not her smug smile, not even the comments calling me broke and bitter. It's the way she looked so sure, so confident, like she truly believed Brad was the provider. And I was just the bitter woman in the background. Because somewhere in the last few years, my daughter stopped seeing my sacrifices as love. She started seeing them as obligation. And Brad? Brad loved that, because it meant he could live like a king, on my dime. The morning after the TikTok hit 30,000 views, I woke up with a calm that scared me. Not rage, not heartbreak. Clarity. The kind that settles in when you finally accept a truth you've been avoiding. I was no longer being treated like a parent. I was being used like a credit line. So I did what I've always done when something breaks at work. I stopped reacting and started auditing. I called in sick that Wednesday, 12 years at the plant, and I'd maybe taken 5 sick days total. This one wasn't about a cold. It was about due diligence. First stop, my bank account. I pulled up every single transaction tied to Allison from the past year. Child support, $850 a month. Extra transfers to Karen, $200, $300 monthly. Car insurance, $180 a month. Phone bill, $40 a month. Random emergency expenses, shoes, cheer fees, clothes, gas money. By the time I added it all up, 23 fees. That was just the last 12 months, not counting the car, not counting the college fund. I sat there staring at the total like it was a stranger's spending report. Because no one treats someone who gives them $23,000 a year like they're a 1 out of 10, unless they've been taught to. Next stop, the college fund. I logged into the account I'd been contributing to since the month Allison was born. $300 a month, no exceptions. Even when overtime dried up, even when I was eating noodles for dinner. $89,947. 17 years of discipline. And here's the thing Allison never bothered to learn. It was a UTME account, which meant I was the legal custodian until she turned 21. Not Karen, not Brad, not TikTok. Me. I called my financial advisor. He asked if I was sure. I said yes. No hesitation. No anger in my voice. Just resolve. I liquidated the entire fund. Not out of spite. Out of math. People love to say things like, how could you do that to your child? Here's what they never ask. Why was I sacrificing my retirement, my safety, my future, for someone who publicly declared I was worthless? So I reallocated. $35,000 went straight into my retirement account, the one I'd neglected while playing hero for a daughter who didn't respect me. $15,000 went into long overdue home repairs, a roof that needed work, HVAC maintenance I'd been postponing, structural fixes I kept pushing off because Allison might need something. And the remaining $39,000, that bought me a brand new F-150, fully loaded, leather seats, reliable, paid in full. Not emotional spending, corrective spending. I invested in the one person who had actually been responsible for all of it, myself. Then I called Honda Financial. Allison's CRV still had $2,800 left on it. I paid it off that afternoon, which meant the title was clean, which meant the car was mine. Next call, the phone company. Allison's number was on my family plan. One click to separate it. One click to make it her problem. But before I made any moves, I wanted confirmation. Not feelings. Facts. So I did what Brad clearly never did. I researched. LinkedIn told me everything Brad never would. His job title? Not senior executive, not regional director. Sales associate. Commission only. Employment gaps he'd never explained. Then I pulled public business records. His pool company had laid off half their sales team in late 2023. Property records showed the McMansion was a rental. The BMW? A lease. And the best part? A Facebook post from 6 months ago. Brad asking his network if anyone knew of sales opportunities because the pool market was challenging. So much for the provider. So much for the 10 out of 10. Thursday, I took another sick day and drove to my brother Evan's place. Evan's a contractor. Divorced. No kids. No patience for nonsense. He's been telling me for years I was letting Karen and Allison walk all over me. When I told him everything, he didn't interrupt once. He just pulled out his laptop. Let's see how much this fantasy dad actually costs you. We went line by line. Receipts, statements, transfers. The Honda, the phone, the insurance, the cheerleading fees, the designer clothes. Total spending in the last year? $31,200. Evan leaned back and whistled. You're not supporting one kid, he said. You're supporting 2 households. And that's when it hit me. Brad wasn't just stealing credit. He was stealing identity. Letting Allison call him a hero while he lived off the money of the woman she humiliated online. Game over. Thursday night, I called Allison. She answered like nothing was wrong, like the internet hadn't watched her dismantle me. I've been thinking about your video, I said calmly. She immediately backpedaled. It was just for my followers. I didn't mean it like that. Of course you did, I replied. You were very clear. She went quiet. So I think it's only fair, I continued, that Brad gets full credit for everything he provides. She hesitated. What does that mean? It means since Brad bought you your car, I should probably come get the one I paid for. Her breath caught. You can't take my car. Whose name is on the title, Allison? Silence. Brad said he helped with most of it. How? I asked. By watching me write the check? She didn't answer. I'll be there Saturday morning, I said. Brad can replace it with whatever luxury car he promised you. This is insane, she cried. How am I supposed to get to school? That, I said evenly, is Brad's problem now. Friday morning, Karen called, screaming, crying, accusing me of destroying Allison's life. You're being petty and vindictive. I let her vent. Then I asked one question. Where is Brad getting the money to replace an $18,500 car? Silence. Finally, she admitted Brad was having a rough quarter. I laughed. Then I told her about the college fund. All of it. Gone. Reinvested. Truck included. She lost it. That was Allison's future. No, I said calmly. That was my money. Past tense. You're cruel. No, I replied. I'm done being used. And that's when Karen said the thing that confirmed everything. Brad said you'd do this, she snapped. He said you'd hurt her financially because you can't handle not being needed. I smiled. Because I'd already seen Brad's records. And Saturday was coming. Saturday morning arrived cold and quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like the pause before something breaks. My brother Evan pulled into my driveway at exactly 8:02 a.m. with his pickup and a car trailer hitched behind it. He didn't ask if I was okay. He just nodded once, the way men do when they know words won't help. I took one last look at my kitchen. Coffee untouched, phone face down. Then I grabbed the spare key to the Honda. Time to end the performance. The McMansion looked exactly the way it always did. Big, glossy, hollow. As we pulled up, Allison came out first. She looked small. Not the confident girl from the TikTok, not the influencer. Just a 17-year-old in sweatpants clutching her phone like a lifeline. Mom, please, she said before I even stepped out. Don't do this. Behind her, the front door opened again. And there he was. Brad. Golf shirt. Khakis, sunglasses, standing a little too wide, trying to look like a man who belonged in the center of the scene instead of the margins. This doesn't concern you, he said to Evan, then turned to me. You're taking this too far. You don't punish a kid because you're upset about a video. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult him. I just smiled. Oh, I'm not punishing her, I said calmly. I'm promoting you. He frowned. What? You told Allison you'd co-sign for a better car if I wasn't so controlling, I continued. So now there's nothing stopping you. Allison turned toward him, eyes wide. Brad, you said... He held up a hand. This isn't about money. I laughed then, not loud, just enough. Oh, Brad, I said. It's always about money, especially when it's not yours. His jaw tightened. Elaine, this is inappropriate, he snapped. I'm not Allison's biological parent. I shouldn't have to... Exactly, I cut in. So why were you playing one with my wallet? Silence. The air shifted. Allison looked back and forth between us, confused. I took a step closer to Brad. By the way, I added lightly, how's the pool business these days? His face drained of color. What's that supposed to mean? It means sales associates don't usually pretend to be providers, I replied. And men who lease BMWs shouldn't promise Teslas. Allison stared at him. Brad? She whispered. What is she talking about? He didn't answer, so I did. The house is a rental, I said calmly. The BMW is leased. Your job is commission only, and your company laid off half its sales team last year. Brad's mouth opened, closed. He said nothing. That's when Allison understood, and that's when something broke behind her eyes. Evan didn't say a word as he lowered the trailer ramp. I unlocked the Honda. Allison sobbed openly now, phone raised, recording. This is my toxic mom taking my car because of a harmless video, she said through tears, posting it in real time. I didn't stop her, because the truth doesn't fear cameras. I loaded the car onto the trailer. Brad stood frozen, didn't lift a finger, didn't offer to help, didn't offer to pay. The provider didn't provide. By Saturday evening, the comments started turning. Allison had spent the past year thanking Brad online for spoiling her and buying her everything. So people asked questions. If Brad bought the car, why could I take it? Why didn't Brad stop me? Why wasn't his name on the title? By Sunday morning, a classmate's mom, who worked at a local bank, commented something about leases and rentals. The illusion cracked, then shattered. Monday at school was brutal. Not cruel, worse. Curious. Teachers had seen the video. The cheer coach called Allison in for a talk about representation. Parents whispered. And by Monday night, Allison called me, sobbing. They're asking questions, Mom, about the car, about Brad, about the money. I'll take the video down. I'll say I was wrong. I'll fix it. Fix what? I asked quietly. Our relationship, she pleaded. I didn't mean it. You meant it enough to post it, I replied. She cried harder. Please, I'll do anything. I paused, then said the words that changed everything. If you want anything back, I told her, you're going to make another video. She froze. Same platform, same audience, and this time you tell the truth. Her voice cracked. They'll think I'm spoiled. They already do, I said gently. This is your chance to decide who you want to be. There was a long silence, then a whisper. Okay. Tuesday night, Allison posted the second video. The title? The truth about my mom and what I lied about. She admitted everything. Who paid for her car? Who paid for her phone? Who paid for her clothes? Who saved for her college? She apologized. Publicly. To me. The comments were mixed. Some praised her honesty. Some said it was too late. Some said actions have consequences. What she didn't know was that parents at her school had already seen enough. And Brad? Brad was suddenly very busy. Too busy to show up. Too busy to help. Too busy to be a dad. Funny how that works. Wednesday night, Allison called again. Can I have my car back? She asked quietly. And the college money? I didn't hesitate. The money is gone, I said. That choice was permanent. She sobbed. And the car? You can earn it back, I replied. $50 a week. Miss a payment, it's gone. That's everything I'll make. Welcome to the real world. Then she said something that sealed it. Brad hasn't been around. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Of course he hadn't. The hero always leaves when the bill comes due. By the time Allison got her first paycheck, the shine had completely worn off. Not just from her phone screen, from her expectations. She started working at Target 2 weeks after the apology video. 20 hours a week, red shirt, name tag. The kind of job she used to joke about when she thought money just appeared because adults figured it out. After taxes, she brought home about $190 a week. 50 of that went straight to me. Every Friday. No exceptions. The first time she handed me the cash, she didn't make eye contact. I didn't gloat. I didn't lecture. I just took the money, wrote it down in a notebook, and said thank you. She hated that more than if I'd yelled. The mandatory weekends started the same week. Every Friday at 6, I picked her up. No excuses, no cheer practice, no sleepovers. No, but my friends are doing something. She sat stiffly in the passenger seat of my new truck the first few weeks, staring out the window like she was being punished. Which told me everything. She still thought this was about control. She didn't understand yet that this was about repair. The first weekend was miserable. She barely spoke. She scrolled on her phone until I reminded her that since I paid for it before, it was now on her responsibility plan. She put it down with a huff. Friday night, we watched a movie in silence. Saturday morning, I made pancakes. She watched me flip them, arms crossed. This sucks, she muttered. What does? I asked. Working, having no money, being tired all the time. I nodded. Yeah, I said, it does. She looked at me, confused. You're not going to say something? I just did, I replied. That's what providing feels like. She didn't argue. She just stared at the table, jaw tight, like the reality was settling somewhere deep and uncomfortable. Week 6, she missed a payment. I noticed immediately. Saturday morning, no envelope on the counter. I waited an hour. Then I called her. "Where's my $50?" Her voice was panicked. "I had to buy work shoes, and gas went up. Can I just pay you extra next week?" I didn't raise my voice. "We had a deal." "I know, but—" "No," I interrupted gently. "A deal is a deal." She cried. "Borrowed the money from Karen. Paid me 2 days late." I still marked it as missed. She learned that consequences don't care about excuses. Meanwhile, Brad vanished. Not dramatically, not with a fight. Just gone. 1 week he was busy. The next week he needed space. Then he stopped answering. Karen called me in a panic. "He left," she said. "He says the situation is too stressful." I almost laughed. Instead, I said, "Funny how stress only shows up when the credit line closes." A week later, Karen called again, this time crying. Brad's BMW had been repossessed. The landlord posted an eviction notice. Brad had been laid off. The provider was unemployed. The McMansion illusion collapsed overnight. By the end of the month, Karen and Allison were packing boxes into a 2-bedroom apartment in a rough part of town. No pool, no game room, no filtered kitchen for TikToks. Allison started taking the bus. Every morning at 6:30. The same girl who once cried about driving a Honda, she changed after that. Not immediately, but noticeably. She stopped asking for money. She stopped complaining. She stopped blaming. During our weekends, she actually talked. About work, about school, about how tired she was. One night, sitting on my couch, she said quietly, "I didn't know everything cost this much." I handed her a blanket. "Most people don't," I replied, "until they have to pay for it." Christmas came. I wasn't sure what to expect. She showed up with a small box. Inside was a mug. World's hardest working mom. There was a note folded inside. "Mom, I know I messed up. Bad. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'm starting to understand what you did for me all these years. I'm sorry it took me humiliating you to learn that. I'm trying to be better." I didn't hug her. I didn't cry. I just nodded and said, "Keep trying." And for the first time, she didn't argue. She just said, "I will." By March, she'd paid back over some $300. She'd kept every weekend commitment. One Saturday, we were in my garage. I handed her a wrench. We worked side by side, fixing something small, an old cabinet hinge. Just like we used to. She broke the silence. "Why didn't you just let me learn without taking the college money?" I stopped what I was doing. Looked at her. "Because words don't change people," I said. "Loss does." She swallowed. "That was my future." "You gambled it," I replied, publicly. She nodded slowly, then asked the question I'd been waiting for. "Do you think if I keep doing this right, we can fix us?" I met her eyes. "We already are." She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. And somewhere between missed sleep, aching feet, and $50 payments, my daughter stopped seeing money as magic and started seeing it as earned. Month 8. That's how long it took before I could finally say this wasn't about punishment anymore. It was about transformation. Allison had been working steadily for 8 months by then. No skipped shifts, no drama texts, no emergencies that magically required money. She showed up every week, every payment. She'd paid back just under $2,000 of the car loan. More importantly, she'd paid back something else I hadn't known was missing until it returned. Respect. Not performative respect, not apology video respect. The quiet kind. The kind that shows up on time. The kind that doesn't argue. The kind that listens. She didn't come to my place on weekends because she had to anymore. She came because she wanted to. Sometimes we didn't even do anything special. Groceries, laundry, watching whatever movie was on cable, sitting in the same room without tension. One Friday night, she surprised me. "Can we just stay in?" she asked. "I'm tired." I nodded. We ordered cheap takeout. She paid for her half without being asked. That might sound small. It wasn't. Karen's life, on the other hand, was still in free fall. Brad had resurfaced briefly to grab the rest of his things, then disappeared again. Karen filed for divorce in November after discovering he'd been maxing out her credit cards while cheating on her with his ex-girlfriend. Not a rumor. A confirmed ugly truth. Allison asked me about it one weekend while we were folding laundry. "Mom's really stressed," she said quietly. "She's working 2 jobs now." I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just said, "That's what happens when you trust performance instead of substance." She nodded. No defense of him this time. No excuses. Just understanding. The biggest shift came in early spring. Allison sat at my kitchen table and slid a folder toward me. Inside were college acceptance letters. Community college. Financial aid paperwork. Grant offers. She'd done it all herself. I'm not asking you to pay for anything, she said quickly. I just wanted you to see that I'm serious. I picked up the letters slowly. Read them. Then looked at her. I'm proud of you, I said. Her eyes filled instantly. Really? Yes, I replied, because this time you didn't perform. You worked. She wiped her face and nodded. Maybe after sophomore year, if I prove I can handle this, we could talk about help again? I leaned back. We'll see, I said. Keep proving it. She smiled. Not the influencer smile. The real one. The one I remembered from when she was 7 and proud of holding a flashlight while I fixed something in the garage. A few weeks later, we were back in that garage. Same space, same concrete floor. Different energy. She was under the hood, grease on her hands. Mom? She asked. Yeah. I really thought liking Brad meant hating you. I closed the toolbox. Why? Because that's how he framed it, she admitted, like there was only room for one. I nodded. That's how insecure people operate. She was quiet for a moment. I lost a lot, she said softly. Yes, I replied, you did. Then she added, barely above a whisper, but I didn't lose you. I met her eyes. No, I said, you didn't, but you came close. She swallowed. I won't make that mistake again. I didn't respond right away. Then I said the words I'd lived by my entire adult life. Promises don't mean anything. She nodded. Actions do. Present day. Allison still takes the bus some mornings when she wants to save gas. She still works 20 hours a week. She still pays me every Friday. And when she talks about money now, there's no entitlement in her voice. Just awareness. Karen is still rebuilding. Credit wrecked. Apartment too small. Reality loud. Brad? Last I heard, he moved back in with his parents in another state and was selling used cars. Funny how that worked out. Allison made choices. Loud ones. Public ones. And now she's living with the cost of them. But she's also learning something most people never do until it's too late. Love isn't proven by what you say online. It's proven by what you do when no one's watching. Slowly, very slowly, she's earning her way back into being my daughter. And this time, there's no audience, just truth.